What do you think, Legay?
Yeah, sorry, by the way, my bad again with CIS region, but...
No, we knew what you meant.
Yeah, but I agree also that, for example, G2, I was actually sad that it didn't make it because I actually had really big hopes in this team, and I was actually thinking that they will take actually this whole tournament with them. But yeah.
As in, just because it's your old team or whatever? Like, what reason did you have for that? I mean, like, here's the weird thing about Big is, like, they haven't been bad. Like, they're holding place as, like, a top 10 ranked team, you know, but they haven't had, like, the big runs to the finals recently, you know. I
was saying G2.
Really successful. Oh, G2,
I was thinking that G2 will actually take this tournament.
Yes.
Because I think they played, like, super good Counter-Strike.
They look like they're on the rise.
Up to this team, yes. And I was hoping for them, like, not hoping necessarily, but, like, I was thinking that they can actually break out now for this tournament and prove themselves that they can actually be the very best team in Europe.
Well, do you think that team is lacking, Legia? Because I actually agree. Like, first of all, it's already gone way better than I would have thought after they had that whole thing with the Kenny S and bring back. Like, the results have already been better, but there's something is still missing. Like, I feel like if they met a team in the quarterfinals, they feel like they could beat almost anyone. But there's a reason why they haven't won a tournament yet. For example, what do you think? What's missing for you?
I think the AWP makes the difference. Like, take all the teams now in consideration. Heroic, Na'Vi, like every single team, like actually the best player is always the AWPer, and obviously they have Amanek, who is not like a main AWPer in his previous teams, or never really has played as the main AWPer, and it makes really a big difference if you play against the Shiro, against the Cadian, or whoever. It's a very different level to play against these guys, and I think that's going to be the only thing where I see G2 having to probably make a change even. To become the very best team in the world, or Amanek actually is gonna improve his AWP by a margin. He's a very good secondary AWPer, and
he does his job,
unpredictable. Sure. But it's still different if you have like a player like Cadian or Shiro who actually plays the AWP for forever, and they know the angles, they know how to play when situations get a little bit harder, when you have to do mind games and all this. They are just used to that, and I think Amanek has to still learn that, but he's showing promising results. So I think that's the only thing they really lack of right now. And also Jax, I think, has a little bit underperformed, which I think he can perform way better than he did in this tournament. So I think he's also a little factor, but I think he's a very good player, and he will also deliver and show up his numbers again.
Yeah, for me, it's obvious that they don't have like a star AWPer, like everyone could just see from the names. But the other problem I think they have is, like, basically, I don't know if you guys use this term in like German CS or whatever, like in English, what you would say, the way they're doing it is that they use the AWP by committee. It's kind of like the old Astralis did when they were like with Carrigan, and Carrigan did it on Mirage, and then KGB did it on Dust 2, and then Device did, I don't know, Train or something, whatever it might be like to play on. Like, basically, the problem with having that approach is it does work. Like, obviously, you see Nico does it for like the right half when he wants to, Amanek does it on the right half when he wants to. The problem with that approach, though, is like both of those players in an ideal world, hence why they're not the primary AWPer, would be like the secondary AWPer, wouldn't they? They'd hold it for like a specific side or a specific site. So it means you sort of make it work. But the issue I think G2 has is, as you see by their current form, they're not just supposed to be a good team, which is what the current setup can get you to. They're supposed to now win events for my money. Like, they're right there. You even see, if you ignore the AWP angle, like, they have games where Nico and Hunter are absolutely star players and can be the best player in the server. So it's like, in that scenario, once you're talking about the 3 or 4 teams that can actually win tournaments, it might seem like we're over-scrutinising and be like, but they don't have a top primary AWPer. But that is the obvious thing they're lacking, you know? It would be like a team that had every other position in football, but, like, they didn't really have a great goal scorer. They had, like, they had like some fucking Dennis Bergkamp guys setting you up, and then all the great midfielders, great defense. Like, eventually you've got to have someone score goals if you want to be the champion. Otherwise it's going to be very, very difficult, because I do think that at the moment, especially in the online period, this is the part where people underestimate the value of the AWP. When you go online, there's no nerves. Every AWPer is going to fucking dominate who's good. That's why, as you say, if you go look at the top ranked players, dude, it's like, I'm off the top of my head, it feels like 7 out of the top 10 is going to be AWPers, aren't they? It's basically going to be like Nico and everyone else. Like, that's who the list's going to be. So there's a reason why that gun's dominant in that regard. Like, what do you think about this overall, Legia? Like, obviously, the online, it's always been famous. Everyone can AWP online that might not be able to do online, right?
I think it's just a very strong weapon, and if you get to choose your positions very smart, you always get the free frag. And it's also not like where you would say the sniper always has an advantage in long distance duels. It's not like that. Many AWPers, if you see, they use it sometimes just like a shotgun, and basically people rush you down, and you're just impossible to die. the weapon is still very accurate in close distance, and I think it's very easy to abuse. And also with today, how teams have to always like use a lot of equipment to gain map control, it gets so much easier for an AWP to actually get pickoffs. Like the steps are already known for an AWP in his head, so it makes it very easy for him to get like free kills basically. Also in high pressure situations where I think that it's important to have a very good AWP and not like a secondary AWP, it gets even way easier to get free frags. Tier players are under pressure, they're feared, they play scared, and it's so much easier for an AWP to get those duels, and it's just one click and kill. That's why I think it has such a big impact. And also, you play very much around this AWPs these days. The AWP always has like a lot of flash support, smoke support, always another guy dying for him, getting information for him. So it also plays in the cards of the AWP.
It kind of reminds me a little bit as well. I'm not sure if you guys would agree, but like when Liquid had their issues with no primary, like really rock solid AWP when Nitro was doing it, when they kind of flicked it around. I think Stewie picked it up at one point as well. And It was like, they were decent players with the AWP, but they never felt super comfortable to me. And yet Liquid never really fully adapted behind that. I don't necessarily mind if G2 keep Amanek on the AWP, and I'm willing to give them a bit more time as well to see this sort of gel a little bit further in the future, because, you know, I think he's doing a decent job, really. I think he's gone above and beyond what a lot of people would have expected from him. But then I think G2 need to adapt to that and realize that maybe their strats need to change as a result. If they don't have a star AWPer, if they don't have a Kenny S anymore, okay, what do you do about that? You can't play the same style of Counter-Strike, expect Amanek to perform to this kind of ceiling that Kenny S often could. Yes, Kenny went off the boil, but we all know what the guy was capable of. No disrespect to Amanek, I don't see him having that same level. I don't think he, like, on a given day, he can just take over the server and take anybody and put them in his back pocket. I think he's just a rock solid, like fairly stable, consistent AWPer where you're going to get a decent performance from him, but you probably won't get an A-star performance from him.
Yes. And by the way, again, just to clarify, the only reason we're scrutinising this aspect is because they look like they're on the brink of winning tournaments. They should be in finals. You look at how well, even when they lose G2, it's always like 3 maps, super close, like they're right there. So that's the point we're making here, is like what's holding them back from being champions. Because obviously, you can absolutely not have to have the best player be the AWPer or have a really good AWPer and be a top 10 team. They've already done it. In fact, for my money, they're probably like 4th or 5th best team in the world. It's just the problem is, like, it's real tough to make that last jump, in my opinion, just because, as we say, look at every other top team has a superstar AWPer pretty much. And if you look online, like people like Shiro, it doesn't even matter if they're land proven. We're online right now. So when it's online, he absolutely is one of the best players in the world. Like, look at the numbers, they don't lie. So that's the only problem for me, because I know way back in the day, there have been plenty of teams. Like, that's actually one of the reasons why, by the way, if Team Liquid had have like won that major and like solidified an era, it would have been the most unique era ever. Like basically, except for like maybe Nips. Like, it's the only team I can ever think of that the AWPer wasn't a big deal in the team. Like, these are basically 5 rifle teams. And I know there's plenty of IGLs believe you can run rifle teams. I mean, obviously, your big team used to oftentimes not have like a primary AWPer, depending on what the money situation was. I know some of MSL's teams over the years have kind of like just used the AWPer if you had to. The problem is, like I say, to be number one and do that is going to be really, really hard. It's going to be really hard.
I think the today almost impossible. And you can just see it. Like, you have the numbers. Like when you actually look at the top 10 players, there is, like you said, 7 people playing the AWP, and there is a reason why that is, and it just gives you so much control and space throughout the game. And I want to say also, it's very hard to, like, if you're a team like G2 who changes the AWPers like based on the map and whatever, it's very hard to get a certain consistency, I would say, in this game in your team, because you always have like a certain, how would you say, relationship with your AWPer in general. Like throughout the whole maps, you know his game style, you know his play style, you know how he's gonna react in certain situations, and you can build on that, you can adapt to that, you can like play off that. And with this team, I see it like always hard when you have like 2 different AWPers, 2 different play styles. Obviously, they always play on certain maps, the AWP, but it's still always a different thing. And